Hi everyone and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve and you can find me on Ravelry as Dramatic Knits and Instagram as Leading Men Fiber Arts. Today is Monday, April 18th, 2022. This is episode 389. If you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. And if you're new, I hope you enjoy what you see and you'll come back in the future. So it's been a little bit, it's been about a month. I've had some trouble conjuring the gumption to record, but after doing a wonderful show this weekend and running into a handful of viewers, I was like, it's time before I'm traveling on the road again. I'm gonna fit in a recording today before I hit the road, heading to Colorado tomorrow. And so I'm here with you all, and I am very happy to be sitting down to record, and I hope you have a wonderful beverage and some crafting with you, and you'll sit down and enjoy the podcast with me while I talk and chat with you all. So things have been kind of lackadaisical but busy at the same time. We have been waiting for show season to start up and start traveling with Leading Men Fiber Arts. For those of you that are new, my partner Andy and myself own our own yarn dyeing company and yarn store called Leading Men Fiber Arts. We're located in Clinton, Illinois, which is a small town in central Illinois, and things have been going well in the store. It's been a little slow, but things are picking up. It's always that weird time when we come out of winter and it's still chilly some days, but when it's nice, people want to be outdoors. But show season has really started ramping up for us, and it's going to be continuing over the next few weekends, nonstop for us. So I thought I would take the little bit of time that I have today and record for you all. So nothing really major going on over here in Casa LMFA. As I've talked previously, one of our dogs, Cornelius, was diagnosed as diabetic several weeks ago. We are still trying to manage his blood sugars, but he's doing a little bit better. Our other dog, who's a Yorkie, Ernest, he was a bit sick last weekend, but he has come out of it and is doing much better. I think it was just some sort of dog cold, but I was a little bit worried because he wasn't eating and he was shaking really bad, but he did get to go to the vet with his brother this week, and they said things are looking fine for him as well. So other than that, nothing really major going on, nothing really new, just a lot of knitting. I have a lot of finished objects to show you, a little bit of other crafting, as well as, just kind of working, doing administration at the studio and coming up with new ideas and new colors and all that jazz. So I hope your last month has been wonderful. I hope if you're in the Northern Hemisphere that you're enjoying the few days that we are getting that are warm. It's been a little bit chilly here in the 40s, which after being in the 60s and 70s, it seems even colder than what it is. But yeah, so that's it. That's all I have to say about the last 4 weeks. Nothing really else that I can think of. For those of you who celebrate, yesterday was Easter. I hope you had a good Easter. We just went over, I even went over in my PJs and went over to my mom's house, and she got some fried chicken the day before and made some potato salad and baked beans, and we had dinner and checked in with each other and then came home and relaxed. So anyway, I won't bore you anymore with the whole lot of nothing going on over here, but we did go to Greencastle, Indiana last weekend, which was just a couple of days ago, and we vended at the Fiber event. This was our 4th year there. They have been off the last 2 due to COVID. It was another chilly year there. Had to wear my jacket. My feet were freezing because we were in the Fiber Arts building, which is not heated, and a concrete floor. But it was good to see some people that I hadn't seen in a while, and some of our local folks even drove out to attend the event, and it was a really good event. They did make the announcement at the beginning of the event that this was going to be their last year, but rumor has it that somebody else may be willing to take over the event, and I do hope so. So Hopefully there'll be another fiber event next year, but we'll have to wait and see. So we did get an Airbnb for the first time and shared that with our friends, the ladies at Black Cat Fibers. And we had a cute little cabin on a lakefront about 20 minutes away from the event. And we just kind of relaxed, hung out. We had dinner on Friday night at a little restaurant nearby and just got to catch up with them, which is really good because we really love those girls and we don't get to see them nearly enough. So, all right, let's get into the knitting, shall we? I have 4 finished objects to share with you. The first up is going to be the shaded Chevrons baby blanket, and I knit this using 2 skeins of Serdar Jewel Spun in the Midnight Fjords and Setting Sun colorways using a size 8 US 5mm needle. And this has been done for a hot minute, and here it is. So you can see it's a decent size. I really do like how the colors played out. It is not your typical baby blanket colors, but I like that. I'm not a typical person, and I don't think everybody needs to stick to, pastel colors for babies, let alone, don't even get me started about gender colors. But so I like this. It's going to go into a bag in my closet, and it may go up for auction at the charity drive that we do at the Knitting at the Estate retreat, which is the retreat that Team LMFA hosts in Monticello, Illinois in September. And we're really looking forward to hosting that event again this year. So this baby blanket may be up for a charity auction. But yeah. So that's done. Done and done. 2 more skeins out of my stash. The next thing I finished was a pair of socks for myself. These are my Doubletree socks using Fiber Nymph Dyeworks Bounce base in the Doubletree colorway, and then I used Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper mini skein in the Imperfection colorway for the cuffs, heels, and toes. And I'm super excited to get to start wearing these. So enjoyed them. I used a size 1 US, which is a 2.25mm needle, using my typical sock recipe, which I've gone over, in past episodes. So those are done, ready to be worn. Just have to take a picture of them before I start putting them on my feet. But another skein out of the stash. I'm starting to see a little bit of holes and room in my cubes, and I'm feeling really good about the lack of stash enhancement I've been doing. Not that I don't have any this episode, so don't worry, I've got stuff to show. But it's been nice getting a little bit of seeing some progress in the stash. All right, next, I finished the Painting Honeycomb scarf by Stephen West. I was doing this as a sample for our shop. This is using Leading Men Fiber Arts Dramaturg, which is our DK weight, one of our DK weight bases, in the Darkest Hour colorway, which is the main color. And then I used Heirloom, Tranquil, and Lilac and Relax. And I didn't test my gauge. You were supposed to need under 2 skeins of the main color. I ran out and had to use just a smidgen of a DK mini skein in the same color to finish out the pattern. But you can see here how wide it is, and it did grow in blocking. So it is a dense, or not even dense, it's a heavy scarf because it's DK using almost 5 skeins of yarn. And so it's over 1,000 yards of DK. And man, I knocked this out. I'm so proud of myself. I worked on this a lot at the studio in between dye sessions when I had some downtime. And the fun thing is, you can stripe it any way you want. He calls for 3 colors, but you can use scraps, you can mix and match. You can grab a bunch of our DK minis and use as many colors as you want, do a fun rainbow or kind of a gradient effect or anything really. So yeah, this is another one done. And we will have kits for this soon. I do have the patterns in the shop, but once we get back from Colorado this week, we will probably work on getting some kits made up for this, seeing as the sample is done. So that used a size 6 US, which is a 4mm needle. And it's even kind of cool on the back side. I definitely recommend knitting in your ends as you go, because you do have to cut your ends as you go. So each stripe has 2 ends plus your main color ends. So knit them in as you go. All right. Last but not least, I whipped up this little ditty that I'm wearing. This is the Shilla by D. O'Keefe. I used Western Sky Knits Smooth Sock in the Nightfall colorway. That's the speckled colorway, again, from Stash. And Leading Men Fiber Arts Intermission, which is our 50 gram skeins of our Showstopper base, in the Moonlight colorway. Unfortunately, this color we can't dye currently because the dye is out of stock and has been for months, but hopefully it'll be back soon. I knit this using a size 5 US, which is a 3.75mm needle. And it's basically garter stitch with some stripes and then a lace section in it. And I did extend the pattern. I had more yarn. It was supposed to end maybe about there, but I used the rest of all the yarn that I had. So this is 150 grams of yarn to just keep going, because I just kept going with garter and ended with 2 rows of the Moonlight at the end, bound off, and it blocked out beautifully. And I love the speckling on this yarn. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I'm showing you the wrong side. Leave it to Steve. So yeah, it was a simple knit, very easy. So if you have 150 grams of yarn, you can easily do this. And she does give you how to extend the pattern if you want. And yeah, another one's done. I have been whipping out some whips. So anyway, and it drapes so nice. That superwash merino nylon. You know, cashmere and silk are really nice, but can't beat the price point and the durability and the drape of that superwash merino nylon if you're knitting it at the correct open gauge for something like a shawl. So those are my finished objects. You know, just a couple thousand yards of yarn, nothing much. It has been a month though. So at least I feel good about finished objects. All right, let's move on into what I've been working on, what's been performing since we last chatted. I'll quickly show you my linen stitch, colorful linen stitch blanket by Helena Cat. I am crocheting this using 2 strands of fingering weight held together. I'm marling it, and let's see where my little dicky-doo is. So that's where I was last time I showed it to you. And I've added all the way up there. I'm not going to hold it up and show the whole thing because it is quite large. Still have a ways to go. I am crocheting this using a size H or 8 hook. And yeah. Lots of colors in there. And I'm just randomly grabbing scraps and mini skeins that I've had. Still have not repeated a color yet. Can you believe it? I still have a few more scraps, but I'll probably have to go back and start re-grabbing to finish off the blanket. Next up, I did start a new pair of socks. These are going to be for Andy. This is using Knitterly Things Vesper sock yarn in the Crossroads colorway, and then Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper mini skein in the Darkest Hour colorway. And I finished the first sock minus the heel. So that's what that looks like. Andy thought they were going to be a little too bright till I started knitting them up, and then he was like, ooh, I really do like that. Do have my afterthought heel line right there. So I will, I finished the toe Saturday, and then I will pick up my stitches, pull out the waist yarn, and do the afterthought heel when I work on these next. And again, these are knit using a size 2.25 millimeter, size 1 US. And I knit socks using 2 circulars. So I love Julia at Vesper Sock Yarn. She's not only an amazing self-striping yarn dyer in general, but she's also a great human. So there's my wonky cake. I'm pulling from the center on this one because I've been pulling from the outside and it's just turned into tumbleweeds of yarn balls going around my living room. And I know I could use a yarn ball, but I could also pull from the center. So that's going. Next up, I started a hat called Tied Knots. This is by Justina Lorkowska. And I'm using some Yakagani Yarns Highlands DK in the blueberry colorway. This is a tweed yarn. And here's what the hat will look like. It's a cabled hat. And I got the brim done yesterday before heading to dinner, and I did a little bit of the cabling. This is knit on a size 3 and 5 US, which is a 3.25 and 3.75 millimeter needle. So you can see some of the cabling happening here. But I do have to take it row by row and do the cables, so it's not a sit down and just go to town on it. I mean, it could. I have a lot of blue. A lot of blue in all my projects. So those are good. That's going. Nothing much to report there. Just started that, but that'll be done pretty quickly. And then last but not least, we started our next Create and Collaborate club at the Leading Men Fiber Arts shop. And basically what this is a knit along, or it's not really a class where we're teaching anything and I'm not ahead of anybody. We just meet every 2 weeks and we work on the same project, though that'll probably be changing for future clubs. Future clubs will probably focus more on a designer and choosing your own, whichever pattern by the designer you would like. But basically, we get together for another knit night and help each other out, or discuss any issues or things that we found insightful in the pattern while we're working on it. And this club, we're focusing on the Maritimo Tea by Caitlin Hunter. And here's what this looks like. And it uses 3 colors, though it's hard to tell in the picture. It's got a feather and fan lace section on the edge of the sleeves and 2 bands in the body. Her gauge, not only with blocking, but her gauge must be much bigger than mine. Luckily, I'm knitting a shop sample that no one's really going to wear unless I eventually give it to somebody, so I'm not too worried about testing my gauge other than yardage. But I am using 3 different colors of Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper. The main color is Notorious. This was our colorway of the month for March. And it is in honor of our social coordinator, Amy, who goes by Notorious Amy on Instagram. And then Raspberry Parfait. And then this dark blue gray is Fortune Teller. So I've gotten through 1 band and then the stripe, and I'm working on the lace of the 2nd band right now. But I'm really loving my color combo. I just kind of put it together because it was a new color and I picked colors around it. But this also was a skein that I had in my stash from years ago, so look at me using more yarn. So I'm doing the 2X size, which is the 55.5 inch bust, but it's meant to have like 7 to 11 inches of positive ease. And it's knit on a size 2 and 3 US, which is a 2.75 and a 3.25 millimeter needle. But basically I went off of how big of a top I could use using 2 skeins of the main color. And then you only really need like a half skein. I'm using 2 minis for the 1 coordinating color and then a full skein for the other coordinating color, though you don't need full amounts on either coordinating color. But that's going right along. I'm trying not to keep going on it. It's a fun knit. I've been enjoying it, but we are working on this through June, and so I don't want to be like done in 3 weeks and be like, oh, have fun, y'all. I'm just going to sit here and work on other stuff while we supposedly work on our teas together. So, but that's what I have on the needles over currently. Still working on things. I'm going to cast on something new on the road to Colorado. And that's going to be a basic garter stitch triangular shawl. Much in the essence of the Shilla that I showed you, except I'm just going to do garter stitch back and forth, the same increasing, the same shape, but I'm going to use 150 grams of Lavender Loon Yarn Company. And this was some goodie bag yarn that I got at the Zombie Knitpocalypse in 2019 called Zombie Beach. And it is the same base as our intermission, but she dyed this almost like a gradient. And so I'm going to alternate skeins as I'm ending one. I'm going to start the new one and stripe them in. And here's what they look like. So it's this kind of beachy, sandy tan color with speckles of pink. And it looks like a little bit of gray and yellow and the slightest bits of blue. So I'm going to use these three together and just make a simple triangular shawl because I want something basic that I don't have to think about, that I can pick up and put down and have conversations with people while we're on the road and when I'm tired and I don't want to think about cabling. And again, the tea is engaging, but I don't want to get too far ahead on it. So, and socks are socks. And sometimes I really just I love knitting fabric in a shawl. Like socks I do love doing, but sometimes I get tired of the small circumference. So shawls are where it's at. So that's going to be on the needles soon. You'll see that next episode. And then to this morning, I finally I finished some hand spun, and I've been working on this for a long time. But this is 8 ounces of a 70% merino, 30% silk that I picked up many moons ago. It came from the Fold at a fiber festival that's no longer taking place. And I just spun half of it and spun the other half and 2-plied it together. It is 8 ounces. I got 636 yards of a 2-ply, I'd say sport weight. And it's a rose color. It's coming out much more brown on screen. It's grays and pinks. So yeah, I do need to still wash and hang this up to dry, but this will be up in the shop when I return from Colorado. So in about a little over a week or so, it should be up and listed in the shop. And even Andy's like, you should make something beautiful with that. And I was like, I should, but I worked a long time on it, and there's not enough hand spun in the shop. There's only one skein I have in the shop that's a gradient. Speaking of gradients, I have selected my next thing to go on the wheel, and that's some Honey Gold Acres. She's based out of Minnesota, and this is her merino top in the C12 gradient. And I picked this up, I believe, at Shepherd's Market in 2021, last year. So it goes from blues into greens and this pinky purple. And I will spin this the whole way through, and then I'm going to chain ply it in order to keep the gradient effect of it. So that's that. All right. In the scene shop, what's been going on in the world of my other crafting? I've done a little bit of cross stitch. I'm working on, dropped my Q-snap, sorry. I am working on the Modern Folk Embroidery 2021 stitch along called Fruits of Plenty. I am working on the March block. I finished January and February, and I'm stitching this using 2 colors of blue DMC on a 32 count Tyco Belfast linen from Picture This Plus. And I'm stitching 2/2. You can see I've got my linen rolled up using these magnetic cable cord wranglers. And I've been working in this section. This is March, this was February. And it's going slow. It's slow going, but as cross stitch is, it's always slow going. Don't worry, my line is not off. It's the tension of my Q-snap. So, And then next, I've worked a little bit on my Fox in the Moonlight latch hook. And this is a kit from Hirschner's. And I've definitely added some more. I finished out the last row and gotten the first 2 blocks done on the next row. It's only got 1 more row above this. So I'm getting there. I don't know if I will latch hook again in my life after this. This was kind of an ode to my childhood. I remember doing some latch hook, but I don't know if it's calling my name. But I will finish it at some point. Slow and steady wins the race, right? All right, let's talk about what's in the spotlight. What have I been watching? Way too much to talk about in the last month. Some things that I noted, I watched Pieces of Her on Netflix that stars Toni Collette. I was intrigued with the whole series until the end. The end was kind of a letdown for me. Not sure if they're going to do season 2, but we'll find out. We watched Murder on the Nile. This is kind of a whodunit, typical murder mystery movie. It's on HBO Max. Enjoyed it. I finished You season 3. Meh. I watched it. It's entertaining. We also finished RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 4. Love me, RuPaul. I could watch RuPaul all day. The Drag Race, not just RuPaul. And then yesterday we finished The Thing About Pam. This was, I believe, on NBC. We watched it on Hulu. It stars Renee Zellweger. It's based on a true story about a podcast that was. It's based on a true story about Pamela Hupp and how she committed murder. But it takes inspiration from the Dateline series about her, as well as a podcast called The Thing About Pam. Thought Renee Zellweger did a very good job because she was very much under my skin the entire series. You love to hate her. Yeah, it just gives you a little insight into the story. If you get into true crime, you'll probably especially like it because it's true crime, but it's a dramatization with good acting. And I learned more about the story. I briefly remember hearing something in the periphery about it when it happened, which is surprising because it happened only 2 hours away from me, really. I'm down in the St. Louis area, but definitely check that out. And that's it. So let's talk stash enhancement. I've been a good boy, believe it or not. Until the fiber event, we were right next to our friends at Knit Spin Farm, Joanna and her husband. And I have quite a few skeins of Knit Spin Farm self-striping that I've yet to knit up. But I usually allow myself to purchase a skein of yarn from her when we go to the event. And the one that I picked out is, these are both on her Corriedale sock, which is a 75% superwash Corriedale, 25% nylon, 4 ounces, 115 grams, and 434 yards. This one is called No Boundaries by Princess Snugabunch. Don't know what that is a reference to. It's even stripes of an earthy rainbow for a goat who fences will not hold. So this is obviously based off of a goat on their farm. And it looks like this. It's got a little bit of a salmony pink in there. And she had one skein of the Corriedale sock and one of an 80-20 merino nylon. It definitely looked much pinker on the merino. So I went with this one just because this was more appealing to me. Andy was like, meh. So these will definitely be for me. But then Andy went over and got his own skein of yarn. And he picked up, oh, this is a different base. This is the Targhee base. This is Corriedale. This is the Targhee base, which is 90% superwash Targhee, 10% nylon, 466 yards to 115 grams. This is Scotchy Scotch sock, thick stripe of sky of Isle of Skye. Thick stripe of sky of Isle of Skye, thin stripes of malted barley, charred oak barrel, empty bottle, and 16-year-old single malt. These are the 2 skeins of self-striping that I picked up from Joanna. And yeah, it's good to see them and check in with them. So more self-striping in the stash, because why not? It's always a pair of socks, right? Not always, but for me it is. All right, I am not going to do a giveaway this episode. As I was sitting down to record and contemplating what really holds me back from recording, it's all the getting everything together, getting set up, this, writing show notes, doing show notes, this and that. And I was like, you know what? Giveaways can just go on pause for a little bit. I do have a few more things people have donated to the podcast, but I really need to make this a little more pleasurable for me and take out the things that I don't enjoy doing about the podcast all the time. So we're not going to do a giveaway this episode, but I do need to give away the skein from the previous episode. And that was a sock set from Canon Hand Dyes that looks like this. I did close the thread and draw a winner. The winner was number 33, Ash M. Co. from Utah. They did not have a name, but Ash M. Co. You are the winner. The prompt was, what's the best type of cheese? And Ash M. Co. said, a nice sharp cheddar or a cream cheese. I love both of those. Sharp cheddar, not by itself. I do like it on eggs and things like that. Cream cheese, yes, please. So congratulations, Ash M. Co. If you would please direct message me on Ravelry, Dramatic Knits, with your first and last name, mailing address, and email address so I can send you tracking. I will get this out to you as soon as I can. Please note, though, it will be at least a week if I hear from you before this goes out, as I will be out of town. So congratulations to Ash M. Co. All right, last but not least, not much to talk about in Center Stage. Again, just want to tell you we do have craft nights every Wednesday from 5 to 8 and crafternoons every Saturday from 1 to 4 at the Leading Men Fiber Arts shop, again, here in Clinton, Illinois. This Wednesday's craft night is going to be canceled because we are going to be on the road, and the shop, I don't expect staff to stay late for craft nights. So the shop will close at its normal time of 6 p.m. on Wednesday. And that will also be going out in social media and our Leading Men Local Crafters Facebook group. And Saturday should be a go. We won't be there for either one. The shop will be bare of a lot of our yarns. There will be some, but there will be tons of other yarn there, as well as other goodies you can check out. We do have 3 make-alongs going on at all times in the Leading Men Fiber Arts Ravelry group. So if you want, go on to Ravelry, check out Leading Men Fiber Arts group, and we have 3 make-alongs going at any given time. Each make-along has a coupon code for you to purchase yarns at a discounted price, and winners of the make-along usually win a gift card, as well as maybe some other donated prizes. And let's talk about our upcoming shows. We are going to be on the road the next 3 weekends. So 4 weekends in a row, we're going to be out of the house. I'm not going to know what my own bed feels like. We are going to be at Interweave Yarn Fest in Loveland, Colorado this Thursday through Saturday. The market is open from 10 to 6 every day. We are leaving tomorrow and driving probably a good 12 hours tomorrow. We've not done a drive like that in forever, and I'm so not looking forward to it. And then we have another 3 to 4 hours on Wednesday to do, and then we set up Wednesday. The market's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have to get at least 3 hours on the road after the show on Saturday so that we can make it home Sunday night. Whew. Then the following weekend, we are excited to be vending at the first ever Midwest Fiber Fest located in St. Louis, Illinois, or St. Louis, Missouri. I believe it's in the Missouri side. It's at the Community College in St. Louis, and it's the first year for this event. We really hope it goes off with a bang. We have been saying for years that the St. Louis area needs a festival. It's lost most of its yarn shops, and it's got a huge population. So if you're in the St. Louis area, please come out to the Midwest Fiber Fest. That is Saturday, April 30th, and Sunday, May 1st. I'm not sure the hours on that, but I will have the festival website linked in our show notes, which can be found at dramaticknits.com. Local yarn store day is also April 30th. While a lot of our yarn will be gone, we will still be participating in local yarn store day on April 30th. So if you want to come out to our shop on that Saturday, we are open from 10 to 4, and we will be doing a free door prize for every purchase. And we're excited to have the staff be leading that charge for us while we are gone. And then the following weekend, which is Mother's Day weekend, we are going back finally to Shepherd's Harvest in St. Elmo, Minnesota. This is right outside of Minneapolis. And it is Saturday, May 7th and Sunday, May 9th. I believe we're in Building C, and we are super excited to be back. I know I'm going to get to see some friends that I have not seen since like pre-pandemic, and it should be a good show. So if you're in the Minneapolis area, please come out to the Shepherd's Harvest and check out everything that they have to offer. They have over 100 vendors and demonstrations, great food trucks there if they are coming back. There's a place that does amazing egg rolls, a place that does amazing ice cream. Yeah. So that's where we're going to be over the next 3 weekends. So it may be a good 3 to 4 weeks before you see me again. But don't worry. Every time I think I'm going to pod fade, I run into people on the road. And you all who watch the show and come out and support us in person say, I love the show, or, when are you going to record again? And as much as I'm like, I don't know, it really does help kind of push me to get that gumption to sit down and record. And, I always do feel really good when I start talking to the camera and knowing that while you're not really on the other side, you are, you know what I mean? And community just does mean a lot to me. Sometimes believe it or not, I'm a very introverted person. So extroverting is kind of a chore sometimes. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. I know that there's probably a lot more introverts in our community than extroverts, but so I'm sure a lot of you can relate. But sometimes it's just a little emotionally draining, but so rewarding. So I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If you have not already, please like or subscribe on YouTube. You can check out show notes at dramaticknits.com. We do have a Ravelry group, the Dramatic Knits Video Podcast group. And in terms of Leading Men Fiber Arts, we have a Ravelry group for them as well as a Facebook group. And I would love if you would follow us on Instagram, Leading Men Fiber Arts. And until I see you in a couple of weeks or a few weeks, I hope you make something dramatic.